Welcome to College Game Day.
This pass is going to be picked on to you. Finds a way to win it at Lane Stadium.
Big spike, shades of Dan Marino.
25-yarder. Ball game. Texas Tech a winner.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Nah, I'll mess with you.
Touchdown pass, number 6.
Being 1 and 2, there's pressure building on us.
Michigan fans shocked and disgusted at what they see right now.
Not a good place as a football team right now, and that falls on me.
We are back for season 3 rankings reaction presented by Cheez-It. Mike Golic Jr., Christine Williamson. I'm Jason Fitz. And yeah, let's just address it. I mean, that hot track you hear right there is one of a couple that Mike and I spent our summer while we were in quarantine working on Cheez-It music. Yeah, so I got to ask you, Mike, we filmed some videos in your garage, right? And including this one. And there's a scene in this where they asked me just to chuck some Cheez-Its. I got a little aggressive, I'll be honest. Maybe too many went up. Some of them ended up in your garage door opener. What's the status of said Cheez-Its at this point?
It was like going to the beach, honestly, that whole experience. I was cleaning Cheez-It dust out of dark places, both on myself and elsewhere for days afterward. Those are still there. Emergency snack time in the garage, just in case I need it.
Also, if you ever wonder like how we rate here, I'll just say I went back the next day to pick up some stuff from the video shoot, and I left with some boxes of Cheez-Its. It was nice. I opened up the garage door for Mike's house to get the stuff that was left. I mean, just as far as the eye could see. So they obviously decided Mike gets a bunch of Cheez-Its. I'm just saying. Plus, this is year 3, and when we started this, we were in your house. Christine Williamson last year joined us. We are back as a trio coming together. But Christine, I think you're the lucky charm because we're no longer in Mike's house. I mean, you can look around. We have glowed up, y'all.
The glow up began when I arrived.
Honestly, I think they looked at it and they said, wait a minute, Christine's here now. We can't just...
We have to do better.
You guys can't be on the couch wearing Halloween costumes in Mike's kitchen anymore. Like, this can't go on. So, yeah, we have left behind the comforts of home. Obviously, everything changed this year. We can't be in my house doing the show, but we're here socially distanced in this nice studio. And I got to tell you, this is way nicer than my dump of a house.
Well, your house is...
Your house is not a dump.
Your house
compared to this palace.
Now, that's
look at that.
I will
look
say...
how cute I am. Cute as hell.
Oh, God, he is full of himself tonight. If you've never watched the show, what we do every Tuesday is we come in and we react to the rankings. So we'll tell you sort of how they got there. We'll get some expertise. We'll give you our thoughts along the way. And as much as we joke about it, I am proud of the fact that the first ever digital show for ESPN came from your couch. And, you know, the funny thing is, for all the work we've done here, there's a hallway that sort of tells the story of ESPN. And in it, there's a picture of our first time doing this show together with me in an inflatable Halloween costume looking like the absolute moron I am. But we do this every year because it's our chance to interact with you guys. It's our chance to get not only fired up about what the committee's decided, but fired up about what you guys are fired up about, and frankly, fired up about college football. So we're going to do that. And even though there are no rankings to react to, there are still reactions to rank, Christine.
We are going to rank some reactions because we got some hot reactions this past weekend. And we're going to start with number 3. We have 3 of them. This game, you might remember a guy named Chris Baldwin. Maybe you don't know his name, but you definitely know his picture. He went viral for his surrender cobra after Michigan State beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. He's back. And guess what? He's in the same stadium because for some reason, Michigan decided to put a cardboard cutout and troll themselves, I guess, in this situation.
I mean, is there some level of self-awareness? Like, you're just getting ahead of the narrative here? Like, maybe Michigan looked at it and said, hey, this season's going off the rails, so we might as well acknowledge it. Like, everybody knows I grew up a fat kid that played the violin, right? You get ahead of that when you're a kid. You walk in, you're like, yeah, I'm fat. Yeah, I play the violin. Let's go. Maybe that's what Michigan's doing here.
You're giving them a lot of credit. This just seems like the darkest timeline possible. Like, things have already gone off the rails. And as Christine mentioned, how do you respond to that? You bring up another one of your worst memories in this moment and self-own. How they let that happen is beyond me.
Harbaugh could whole get fired. Like, I'm sure he's not like, oh, this is so funny. Look at the surrender cobra in the stadium right now. After Joe Milton just throws a pick. This is great.
Oh, my God. This is
all right, number 2. We got Ole Miss versus South Carolina. And this this was actually an amazing play. Ole Miss was down. And our guy, Matt Corral, I don't know whose guy that is. I guess it's Ole Miss's guy, throws for a 91. Oh,
he's Lane's
91.
Guy.
Yeah,
he is Lane's
91-yard touchdown, and we're not looking at it right now, but Lane Kiffin, went
he chucks it.
crazy.
Couple things here. A, I didn't know Lane had that kind of power to get the playbook up in the air, and it is a chuck. Two, this is Chunky Lane. And Chunky Lane is sprinting down the sideline. Like,
thick Lane.
Oh, thick Lane, sorry.
Lane.
Yeah.
We're a body positive
rude.
show around here.
I mean, Chunky can be good, but look at him.
Look at this.
Look
And
at
then
him.
he just throws it in the air.
I like how he's just taking off the headphones, like he's stripping as he goes down here. The time in Boca has served him well, and now he is launching play call sheets into the stratosphere.
That was the second time. He was low key, step for step with Elijah Moore. Like if you watch it, like Elijah Moore, look at Lane Kiffin.
This is like when they transpose 40 times on top of each other at the combine every year.
Exactly.
Lane Kiffin running next to Elijah Moore, who not so quietly looked like the best receiver in football.
That's basically what was going on.
How would you rate the toss, the height of the toss? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, the height of the playbook toss, like I give it a solid 8. Feels like it got some good hang time. Like feels like the punt return team could have gotten down there on it.
Honestly, I give it a 10.
I was gonna say
a 10.
Like, what is a 10?
Bro,
what is
it's
a
too
10?
early in the season to go with the 10, people.
Jason, that's a call sheet. This is not a clipboard that's got mass to it. This is a call sheet that's largely flimsy, maybe laminated. So to be able to cut through the wind like that, expert level. Might have been a better throw than his quarterback.
I mean, I feel like we probably won't see any better clipboard throws than that one this season, if we're being honest. We got 2 in one game. The last and final reaction that we're ranking. Number 1. East Carolina versus Cincinnati. This Cincinnati mom, this is Keaton Mitchell's mom, she was lit. Her son got his first career touchdown. He's a freshman, and she was going off, like dancing. She even tweeted, and she was like, I don't care that I'm embarrassing myself and my son.
No one's embarrassed when someone's getting in the end zone here. Shout out to East Carolina. Shout out to his mom in this. Like, if you would put a camera on me when Notre Dame beat Clemson this year, I promise I didn't make it look this cool.
You were doing that same thing?
No, it was embarrassing what I was doing. What she's doing is actually lit, and it's her son. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, exactly.
How many touchdowns have you, like, I'm not trolling you for a second. I'm not being a jerk.
You're saying this knowing you're being a jerk.
No, I'm not. No, did you score any touchdowns?
Bro, I played, like, you know how most offensive linemen start out as something cool? I played offensive line from the minute I showed up as a chubby 5th grader until the end of my football lifetime. My hand was firmly in the dirt. No, I never scored a touchdown.
Well, I wasn't sure, and I'm just saying, like, you have the world's most supportive and amazing mom. Like, your mom is an American treasure. I just wonder how Chris Golic reacts to your big plays.
Well, my brother scored a touchdown. His first career touchdown was when he was at Cincinnati as a 5th year, scored it playing at UConn, so we were all here. We all got to celebrate. We got loose in that end zone. There was a party bus to and from, so I can assure you I was not sober.
Wow. That story went just off the rails quickly. All right.
Touchdown, Jay.
Oh, wow. Woo! It's Rankings Reaction presented by Cheez-It. We are, yes, eating Cheez-Its. By the way, Christine, what's your Cheez-It?
I got extra cheesy with white cheddar.
Okay, that's a good combo. We'll get into what each of us is snacking on through the course of it.
White cheddar grooves. For anyone asking.
He was going to give you some time.
I was going to space it out.
No, whatever.
White cheddar grooves.
Put it all out there.
Christine Williamson, Mike Golic Jr., I'm Jason Fitz, and I'm eating the white cheddar combined with the buffalo wings, so I get a little bit of a tandem here. All right, so as we've told you, what we're going to do every single week is react to the rankings. There are no rankings to react to, but there is an AP ranking to make sure that you're aware of. This is the current top 10, and you'll see at number 10, that is not a misprint. Wisconsin, remember, they're only 2-0 because they went so long between games due to COVID. Indiana, the big surprise at 4-0. Not many people saw that coming.
9 Indiana.
Oh, look at that. BYU, Cincinnati trying to make that group of 5 push. Florida with 1 loss in a tight game. Texas A&M at number 5, but remember, blowout loss for them. Clemson at 4, Ohio State at 3, a school I've never heard of at 2. I'm not sure. Oh, wait, might be Michael again. And at number 1, obviously, Alabama. So we're going to get a little expertise on what we've got here and sort of where the playoff committee is at this point. And to do that, we bring in our very own Heather Dinich joining us now. And you'll see Heather a lot, whether she wants to be or not. We're going to make her come on this show all the time because we need her expertise. So, Heather, I know we talked so much about this season, but right now, sort of walk everybody through what's happening for the playoff committee members, like how they're getting ready for their first opportunity to vote next week.
Well, one of the things that they're going to do is forget that AP top 10 that you just showed. They are going in with a, quote, clean slate. You'll hear that all the time. New committee chair Gary Barta will be the face of that group, talking to Reese Davis on Tuesday nights. And as we sit here today, they plan to do this in person the same way they do every season at the Gaylord Texan Resort in Grapevine, Texas. CFP Executive Director Bill Hancock told me that it feels like a bubble for them, and they wouldn't be doing it if it didn't feel safe. Again, that could change any minute, but he told me that they've gone through great lengths to make the committee members feel comfortable. But the point, Fitz, is that they feel like they need to be together to truly have that conversation and debate and discussion in the way that you can do in person. And as we all know, as we have lived through this pandemic, everything is different on Zoom. Conversations are different. So if they have to, they will. But that's where it stands right now.
I would give anything to see a lot of these old-time athletic directors going off on a team on mute. So while we will miss out on that, these conversations are going to be important, Heather. And I'm curious what the committee said about how they're going to judge. We've seen conferences have minimum game criteria for teams to be eligible to compete in conference titles. But what have you heard so far about the criteria in this very different season for the selection committee?
Well, Bill Hancock has told me that it is, quote, status quo for the selection committee. The protocol has not changed. As you mentioned, there are some benchmarks in different conferences. Wisconsin clearly has to play every single remaining game on its schedule just to contend for the Big Ten championship and play in that conference title game if they get there. The committee does not have any such benchmarks. So, yes, you will see them debating and discussing a team that has 2 wins like Wisconsin and comparing it against a team that has 8 or 9 wins. It's just that's the world that they're debating right now, and everybody's going to have to lower their bar for fairness if we're talking honestly about this.
Heather, I'm going to ask a very ridiculous question because I go hard for the Big 12, Clemson and Miami, right? So I'm going to ask a Big 12 question because last season we saw Oklahoma in the first CFP rankings. They were ranked number 10. Obviously, they ended up in the CFP. This year, the highest ranked Big 12 team right now is Oklahoma State in the AP football rankings. They're right across the street from the CFP. How likely, the conference is, how likely is it that a Big 12 school get into the CFP?
It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. But I think you're smart to bring it up because, first of all, the ongoing uncertainty during the pandemic. None of us knows how many games anyone is going to wind up playing. But when you look at Oklahoma State, you cannot rule out any one-loss team that has the potential in the Power 5 to win its conference. Now, should they lose again, then it's an entirely different conversation, and we're really not talking about the Big 12 anymore. But as we sit here today, I would not eliminate them because so much can still happen in college football. I would start to eliminate them because they don't look like a top 4 team.
All right, I gotta just, by the way, we're gonna peel back a curtain here. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that work on this show. We didn't tell anybody we were going with Oklahoma State, and they had the highlights ready. Man, we got the best staff ever on this show. I am just stunned. We're all looked at each other like, all right.
They have Oklahoma State highlights.
All right, I'm going to start asking about UNLV, see if they can. Okay, no, so all right, Heather, a lot of conversation about whether or not the playoff committee should consider postponing the playoff. I want to ask you just to cut through all the noise and tell me what's real when it comes to any conversation about the playoff committee deciding to change the dates of the actual playoffs.
What's real is that there is a general consensus amongst the college football commissioners to get this thing done as planned and name a champion on January 11th in Miami Gardens, Florida. That being said, they are talking about it behind the scenes because the biggest question they're facing right now is what happens if a player tests positive on a semifinalist team. This is the issue that they're surrounded by right now because you have Alabama and Clemson just hypothetically going to the semifinals. They get there, they get to their hotels, and somebody can't play, a team can't play because of the contact tracing issues and the quarantine. Then what do? That's where the discussion comes in. How far do you push it back? And as you look at those open windows in terms of the NFL playoffs, I believe, because I don't have a calendar in front of me, that it's January 30th. That might be the next open Saturday. Do you wait to play the semifinals until then? There's just all kinds of different questions. And if there is a team that tests positive, you've got Clemson sitting there, right, saying, okay, how long do we sit here in our hotel for 2 weeks and wait for this? So those are the issues that they're dealing with, which is why everyone is holding their breath every weekend, including this one, to hope that they can play these games, get them rescheduled, and cross the finish line on January 11th.
Holding your breath is the understatement in all this. That team waiting is Notre Dame, by the way. But outside of that, Heather, it has had us all holding our breath, wondering if we could get something we hadn't seen before. We know it's almost seemed impossible for the group of five to break into this party at certain times. Is this a year, because of the uncertainty, that it's, I won't say super likely, but more likely than normal that a team like Cincinnati, like BYU, could finally crash the party?
Well, guys, I think that that's one thing that we're going to be talking about a week from today, because that's one of the things I'm most curious about the first ranking. Where do they put BYU and Cincinnati, given the uneven amount of games that have been played and those resumes? Yes, to answer your question, it is a possibility. I still think it's unlikely. If I had to give you a prediction, it would be that those two teams play each other in a New Year's Six Bowl. I think if you put their resumes on paper, down the stretch, Cincinnati with an American Athletic Conference championship title, I think they get the edge over BYU. But BYU has Zach Wilson. He could be a Heisman contender. It's tough. It's a tough decision, but I think it's possible.
Heather, as always, we appreciate your expertise. You are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you guys so much.
So they asked me to do my week too early rankings. Nobody else has seen it at the table.
Come on.
Wow.
So this is what I'm doing. I'm just giving you what I think the 10 are. I got Indiana at number 10. I got Texas A&M at number 9. And the reason they're at number 9 is because they, before everybody asks me, they have a blowout loss. I think the committee devalues blowout loss. So they go down to number 9. We've seen you can't lose big and still get in. Florida has a loss, so I'm putting them down there at number 8, even though it was a good loss. Wisconsin hasn't played enough football for me to see anything bad. BYU and Cincinnati have both looked dominant. Clemson goes in at number 4 because their one loss was without so many key components. That leaves me Notre Dame, Bama. Bama at number 2 because their defense has gotten worked a couple times this year. And then Ohio State because we haven't seen anything bad from Ohio State. Mike Golic Jr. does not seem to like my rankings. This is Rankings Reaction presented by Cheez-It. So I'm going to eat some tasty Cheez-Its while you go ahead and tell me what you hate about my rankings.
We haven't seen anything bad from Ohio State. They gave up 25 points to that Penn State team. And you're going to put them over Alabama? Like, this isn't even a Notre Dame.
Alabama gave up like 7,000 yards in one game.
I understand that, but again, listen, it is Ole Miss, which we have seen run up a fair amount of yards, and a lot of people, and I guess pointing out that from Alabama defense is worthwhile, but to say that there are no concerns for a Nebraska team that showed well in the trenches against Ohio State, who hasn't maybe looked as dominant up front as you would expect. Part of that is their own reputation. They're in that range. They're always going to be in that range when you bring back quarterback, coordinator, all the important parts of the season, but putting them over Alabama this short into the season seems like a part that's probably a little short-sighted.
I will say when I put it together, Mike, I was thinking of the way the committee does it. For anyone that doesn't know, they go in groups of 3. So for me, it was pretty easy to identify 1, 2, 3. That's going to be Alabama, Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame in some order. It gets a little trickier after that, because when you start to look at the next group in, I mean, Clemson is an interesting case study. They lose in double overtime. Christine, you look so
Wait, I'm so confused about the Clemson thing. That's why I'm waiting for you to say it.
Clemson loses in double overtime at Notre Dame without their starting quarterback.
And without 3 starting people on their defense.
Yep.
Right. So that's why I put Clemson at 4. I mean, frankly, the 3 teams ahead of them don't have a loss. I think a loss still matters at some point, doesn't it? So Clemson, to me, if I'm betting your house, because I'm not betting mine, I'm cheap. If I'm betting your house on Clemson versus Notre Dame, and I'm not sure I bet the same way on that. Like, I think Clemson's a better football team, but they lost. So I got to give that some respect to Notre Dame.
Yeah, we all listen, I think where we sit right now, that's the right way to do things. And thankfully, if all things hold right now, we might get to see this rematch in the ACC championship game. Notre Dame's got Wake Forest and North Carolina, both teams that have put up a ton of points in the interim to contend with first. But I look at that. Clemson's going to be in that conversation, and this is the buzz term that comes up every year. The best loss in this, right? As we start to examine these one-loss teams and look for who in that group is going to fit that mold. Clemson right now, based on most people's rankings, would have the best loss. A double overtime L against the number 2 team in the country.
Well, go ahead, Christine.
I would like to say that I feel like, didn't last week you had Cincinnati in the top 4?
Yes, I had Cincinnati at 4.
With Clemson at number 5.
Well, no. I had Cincinnati at 4 last week because I
really?
anticipated that Notre Dame was going to get thumped by Clemson. I was wrong by that. I'll say it loudly.
Cute.
Jordan Cornette will loudly remind me frequently, too. I was wrong about it. I think, this is the time every year, and I'll say this over and over again, maybe because it's the one smart thing I've ever said in my life. Everybody always asks, is it the best team or the most deserving team? And I believe that what the playoff committee tries to do is get the best of the most deserving, as weird, as nuanced as that sounds. So, you start to look at, for me, I value a loss. And like I said, I think Texas A&M is a damn good football team. It doesn't matter. You lose 42-24, you're gone. Like, when have we seen the committee allow a blowout loss?
And we did this last year. We did the 10 Commandments of the college football playoff, and one of them is thou shalt not get waxed. That is the one thing we've seen undo a lot of otherwise great seasons where you've got one loss. Back in the day when we had out-of-conference play, which now seems like a forgotten thing, you had that quality out-of-conference win coming up, but the one thing you could never do was get yourself worked by anyone in this process. And we've seen that's a cardinal sin that is never rewarded by the committee.
That's true. Another one of those 10 commandments was thou shalt not lose more than one game. Do we think that it is more likely for a group of 5 team to get into the CFP or a good team with 2 losses like Clemson to get into the CFP?
No, I think it's group of 5 all the way. Part of the reason I keep taking Cincinnati as a playoff team, to be real, there are 2 things. I think by the end of the year, there won't be a clearly 4th best team in the country. The other side of it is I'm not sure that there isn't some level of, if not this year, then when, right? Like, if there isn't a clearly 4th best team in the country and you've got an AAC champion in Cincinnati, I think that championship game that Heather alluded to is really significant here. You've also got the fact that the AAC has gained some street cred over the years because of UCF. And although it shouldn't matter, I think Luke Fickell is a respected brand of a head coach. So for the coaches that are sitting in the room, they're saying, well, that Luke Fickell teams are like, I think that's a real part.
He gives them Big Ten energy.
Yeah.
Like, that's absolutely what's dripped over to Cincinnati right now because it feels different than when we talk about some of those other teams here. And it's worth noting, like you said, they're climbing up there. Tulsa just got a big time win over SMU. They're ranked now in that situation. The AAC as a league, I think one of the byproducts of this kind of weird season is we've seen them get more shine. We've seen the group of 5 in general. And so I don't think a 2-loss team would get in there just because proximity-wise, we're closer than we've ever been with the way that BYU has handled business, but Cincinnati will have more of a resume to tell that tale.
And Christine, though, I will ask, because we just mentioned Cincinnati and BYU.
Yeah.
We always talk about how, Heisman votes, for example, when you've got one team that has 2 great players, do they split each other's votes? I wonder if there's sort of a group of 5 split among the voters as they're trying to figure out which one, Cincinnati or BYU, is valued. Do they suddenly somehow devalue each other?
Well, Heather said that BYU would get the edge because of Zach Wilson, right?
I think because of the Heisman talk around him.
They could get the edge.
I look at it. I'll be very curious. And as we get later in the season, we stack more games. We look at the metrics the committee cares about because when they go, and we've had a chance to go through the mock committee exercises before down in Texas. And one of the things that they really talk a lot about is strength of resume.
Yeah.
How likely it is that a college football team, another college football team, would be able to have your record versus your schedule. That's where BYU is going to run into trouble because we know their strength of schedule has been low all season long. The one quality win that was supposed to be out there for them was a Boise State team that ended up trotting out their 3rd-string quarterback. That the committee is going to remember because that's what a human committee is there for.
And you see next opponent, North Alabama. It's not like it gets tougher, but that's why you're seeing Cincinnati and BYU run up scores. I know some people last week were a little bit miffed at Cincinnati for running up. And look, that's what they got to do. I will say, if there's one team in my top 10 that has a loss that still has a the easiest, most viable, I shouldn't say easiest, the most viable forward stepping is Florida, right? Florida has 1 loss, and it's in the world of losses, it's quality loss. They have a close loss to Texas A&M, right? So they lose I think it was 41-38. They lose a close game. That's going to be, and then they have all the metrics in front of them. All they got to do is win their way through, and by winning their way through, they'll get the opportunity to take on Bama. The problem is, they can't lose to Bama because then they have 2 losses. That's the real question. If you've got a Florida team with 2 losses, but it happens to be the Texas A&M, who at that point may be a top 10 team, and that the other losses to Alabama, how will they view that? Because that's a much tougher strength of schedule than we will have seen from Cincinnati or BYU.
I don't know. We had this conversation on Countdown when we were talking about getting a group of 5 team in. This could be the year. And I feel like it would make more sense for me for the committee to say it's been a really weird year a good Clemson team, a good Florida team had 2 losses. Clemson lost twice to Notre Dame. They should still be in the CFP, rather than saying it's been a really weird year. A group of 5 teams should be in the CFP.
That's the toughest part about this is going to be, we talked to Heather about what the committee is considering. It's going to be the most eye test reliant year because you don't have those cross-conference ways to measure in all this. And so you're going to go. That's why preseason rankings are always so problematic, because they create these visions in our head of who's supposed to be good and what conference is supposed to be strong. But especially this year, it's hard to go out there and have that backed up over a long course of time when no one's playing the same amount of games.
The hardest part about the eye test, I'm going to be a jerk for a minute. The hardest part about the eye test is, right, that's as the guy that obviously, this is going to be shocking to America, is the guy that didn't play college football. The eye test is so difficult for me because we don't hear enough from the committee members to ever get a justification of what they're looking for in their eye test. And it's maddening to me because we see this at every level, whether it's college football or the NFL. If you sit down with a bunch of our NFL guys and you ask them to review the same game, you will get different varieties of opinion on what they've seen. The eye test is maddening to me because it's essentially a really smart version of saying, well, just because. And that's, you got to take it because they're on the committee, and that means they're respected. But just because is a difficult answer for me.
It kind of goes back to what, the definition of an adult film. I know it when I see it, kind of thing. Like, that's what everyone says in all this.
Wait,
that was when someone had to testify under oath. You guys have never heard that before?
I've never in my life heard that.
The definition.
I'm so confused.
The definition of by the way.
That's the definition.
I can't tell you the definition, but I know it when I see it. I think that
I've never heard that in my life. Is that a saying?
We glossed over, by the way, the most important thing Mike said, which is thou shalt not get waxed. I mean, you're a hairy dude. Like, I can only imagine the back wax.
Wow. Okay, let's move on.
That ain't going to be me. This is not going to be a 40-year-old virgin situation. I assure you that.
We've been talking about all these hypotheticals. Let's look at the weekend matchup. I don't even know what's going on. So it's week 12, apparently. It's apparently week 12.
You have appreciate you trying. You just gotta let him work this out.
I'm so sorry.
Jason, if you break the funny button on him, he loses all control.
He's literally broken. He is literally broken. Wow. Oh, wow.
Be a professional, Jason. We got a nice new set now. Christine's here. Stop embarrassing us in front of company.
Okay, sorry, Christine. Christine, you were doing great work.
As I was trying to say,
ruining the show.
This weekend's week 12, our schedule this weekend. Now I'm confused. Okay. We have some notable games. So I was excited about coming onto the show and just saying like ridiculous things about the Big 12 and about Miami and about Clemson. Well, Clemson's not as ridiculous, but when you look at Miami's schedule, it completely blew up because of COVID. And so they basically had to shuffle a bunch of games in the ACC. Their scheduled game against Georgia Tech is rescheduled for December 19th, which, by the way, happens to be the same day as the ACC championship. Miami most likely won't be in that, so whatever. Also this weekend, we've got on the schedule Ohio State versus Indiana. And we were talking about all these hypotheticals. What if this happens? What if that happens? Let's talk about another hypothetical and something that we're calling chain reaction. If Ohio State doesn't happen, if Ohio State Indiana does not happen this weekend, then Indiana, who's 4-0, controls its destiny to edge Ohio State, who's 3-0 for the Big Ten East title. So this is what happens if there's a tiebreaker. There's a head-to-head. If the game doesn't happen, by the way, this is not a real scenario. Like, the game is happening this weekend.
Listen, we take nothing for granted in this season.
It's Tuesday, Christine. Why would you speak that into the universe? It's Tuesday.
Hey, if it doesn't happen, then everybody just point their finger at me, and then I'll just feel like I have way more power than I even knew that I have.
If this game gets canceled, you should just get off Twitter for like 3 weeks. Like that.
Basically, the point is, if this game doesn't happen, then Indiana basically controls their fate, right?
Yeah, so it goes down to winning percentage then, and if they both finish undefeated, then they would both finish with the same winning percentage here. And then it goes to your cross conferences, so out of your division of the Big Ten's winning percentage in there. And as it sits right now, it looks like Indiana would have the stronger out of division strength of schedule, and so they would technically be in the driver's seat if they both finished undefeated and that game weren't played, which is a total galaxy brain take, but that's what Reddit is is for.
But it's also a reminder that conference, this is my chance to say it. Everybody hates it every year. Conference championships don't matter, like the committee's told you. So even if they go to the conference championship game, if Ohio State's undefeated and this game wasn't played, the committee's still putting Ohio State in, and there's no assurance they're putting Indiana in over them. I mean, that would take the rest of, it would depend on what's happened in the rest of the college football landscape.
Oh, see, I think this year it's a little bit different in that. Now, I'm with you. I've been for a long time saying a conference championship is only as good as being a 13th data point. So if you've got a quality win you're going up against in this, then you're good to go. Ohio State in the past has been bailed out by a strong out-of-conference win, going on the road, beating a well-ranked Oklahoma team early in the season that year. They wouldn't have that bailout clause this year. We've seen some of the difficulty the rest of the Big Ten is when your brands fail you, your conference gets in a tough position. So Penn State and Michigan bottoming out the way they have, their hope is Wisconsin continuing to help buoy this and Indiana. So if they both get through this season and Indiana squares up and beats Ohio State, or Indiana beats Ohio State and then squares up in the Big Ten championship and gets dubbed, I think they're sending them. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think Ohio State's going to win, but...
Right. I'm just saying that if Indiana doesn't play this game for some reason. Now, I will say, too, Indiana's caught so many people by surprise. I would actually argue that if Indiana goes out and plays a hell of a game, they're actually going to, even if they lose a heartbreaking game to Ohio State, they'll actually gain more street cred from a lot of people. I think people are waiting for the bubble to pop on Indiana, and I don't necessarily know that they should. I mean, obviously they get the dramatic win over Penn State that everybody remembers, but if they go in and compete against Ohio State, that's going to be a sort of a key loss, even if it's a loss.
Yeah, that'd be what you guys call like a good loss on their resume. It was so funny because we had Shea Pepler filling in for you on Countdown, and she went to Indiana, and she said that was the weekend that they were about to start playing football. And she said there was a 0.04 chance for Indiana to get into the CFP, and now it's a whole different scenario. I do want to bring out another chain reaction that, I mean, I don't think that they have B-roll for everything that I just put out there, but let's just say Clemson loses to Notre Dame. Everybody's talking about how two ACC teams could get into the CFP, right? Clemson loses to Notre Dame. What are the chances that Miami could get into the CFP in that scenario if they only have one loss?
I think it'd be pretty tough because, again, I don't remember the final, but I'm pretty sure they got blown out hard by Clemson in that game. And, again, I just don't think that's one of those things in that spot. The committees, thou shalt not get waxed. Like, we keep going back to it because it's been one of the few things, as we've tried to gauge every year that the committee's been around, what tends to be true more often than not. That looks like the true one in that spot. So the ACC's best chance of getting two teams in is if they have a close game between Clemson and Notre Dame, Clemson and Trevor Lawrence get that win. It looks like it comes down to the wire again. Then I could very easily see them saying, "Oh yeah, no, we got to run both of those teams back."
Yeah, that final against Clemson was 42-17.
Yeah,
I can't see that being forgiven. And
so you're saying there's a chance.
And I'm gonna say, and they don't like Miami as presently constructed is not a college football playoff caliber team, right? Like.
Nah.
They are Eric King and an awesome defense.
But this is where, to that point, as they're showing the Miami highlights, you mentioned earlier how the Big Ten has been let down by Penn State, Michigan. Yeah. I'd argue that the ACC has been let down by North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina was supposed to be a top 10 team this year. Their offense, Sam Howell, has been absolutely spectacular. They can score on anybody, and I would think that you're a little puckered up about that as a Notre Dame guy, Mike. Like, that's going to be a big matchup for Notre Dame. But North Carolina's defense has been just a pile of hot garbage, and it has been the biggest disappointment in the ACC. And as a result, that affects Miami because Miami has North Carolina in a couple of weeks. Their hope was that would be a chance to get a big signature win. But instead, it isn't. So, I blame the Tar Heels a little bit on that one.
It is a tough one. A lot of people came into this year with lofty expectations for them. I think Miami was a team that, despite their record, people expected it to look better now, bringing over Rhett Lashley, having Eric King in that offense, and knowing that defense under Manny Diaz has largely not been the problem. You're down your best player, but Quincy Roche comes over from Temple. Like, all these things look to be lining up, and then they went out there against Clemson, and we got reminded what the real was.
If you're just tuning in, it's Rankings Reaction presented by Cheez-It. It's Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz, Christine Williamson. We will be here not only tonight, but every single Tuesday after the rankings come out through the duration of the college football playoff process to get you some reactions, to get you some expertise, and to give you our opinions along the way. Plus, we'll have some fun engaging you in the process as well. So now it's time for our Week in Review Crunch Time edition brought to you by Cheez-It. Look at some of these crunch time plays you got to see again. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Luke McCaffrey, brother of Christian, yeah, you might have heard of him. He's getting, it looks like he's going down, but no, he uses the left hand and still gets the pass out. Mike, what's your thought?
Those aren't boos, they're Lukes in this one. Wow. I was so excited Nebraska was able to hold on in this, but listen, Luke, there's a ton of promise there. This is a coaching staff that has said, and Scott Frost, that if we had had a full lead up to the preseason, he likely would have been the day one starter. So hoping this works out for Nebraska right now, because we can't do another offseason of all the wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Does form matter when you're going with your non-dominant hand and you're throwing the football? No?
Oh, you don't
He's
think?
trying to get it to the location.
See, I almost overcoach the offhand. Like, I can't throw a football worth a damn. I played a lot of football in my life. I can't throw them at all.
Yeah.
Left-handed, it's almost better because you're so focused on it, and I need it just to get it there. Because if I'm just trying to go off autonomous ultra instinct here, it's not going to work out very well. I'm going to fire that into the ground.
I mean, I love the fact that he went to his non-dominant hand. It looked a little
It just looks awkward, but I mean, if he gets it to the target, that's all that matters.
He's also a high-level freak athlete. Like, he is very athletic.
His left arm works perfectly fine.
Yeah, me and Jason are not. There's a very intimidating picture of Christine being athletic over here that lets me know I need not mess with that.
There is no doubt about that. Christine is the most athletic person in this room, bar none. All right, let's take a look at another Nebraska play here. This one I really liked from over the weekend. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he's doing everything by himself. You get the sack, you get the strip, you keep your balance, you pick up the ball. Deontay Williams, big old scoop and score on that one. I love the fact that he was able to do it all by himself. Like the mindset there, punching the ball out, but then also being able to chase it down and run it down. Christine, this is just athleticism to its finest.
That boy good. I mean, I feel like he was focused on that to start, because I feel like most guys are worried about getting the quarterback down, and that guy was like, nah, I'm trying to score. That's all I'm worried about.
That's a 20-20 sack right there, because you can't hit quarterbacks anymore, which I'm cool with, as someone used to have to try and protect them, but you can't hit them now, and so guys are getting smart, and these guys are all stupid athletic, so they go for the strip 9 out of 10 times there. So,
and that's the right play to make too, because you never know at some point not only if you're going to get a penalty, but also you're trying not to get a penalty. He might spin out of it. So like hitting the ball out, great awareness there. Let's take a look at the next one. This one I loved, little shades of OBJ on this as we give Miami some love here. We were just talking about it, but you got he heaves it down the field. Heaves it, but hey.
Oh, no.
Who put that there?
D. Wiggins goes straight into the net. And kicker helps him up, though. Like, kicker's up, like, I got you, boom.
My bad.
He's got enough free time and energy because he's not doing anything else. Like, honestly, it's kicker. I love kickers. They're great, especially the ones that, they've got that 30-year-old Australian punter covered in tattoos who looks like he could hurt me.
What are your peripherals like in a helmet? I've never put a football helmet on. What are your peripherals like?
They're pretty solid. That's honestly more about momentum. I'm going to give him credit. Skinny guy, high-level athlete, probably saw that, said soft landing space, easy slow down there.
He did
like
that on
me,
purpose.
if I'm going down a hill, I just let momentum take me and sprint. And if I happen to hit something, then so be it. His a lot more graceful.
Did you ever hit anything on the sideline when you were playing, like accidentally run into
No, that requires you going fast.
Oh, that's fair.
If I'm coming, I had one instance near the sideline. I was on punt coverage. I was on part of the punt shield, and I had to go, and I was trying to use the sideline as a defender. They've got this unbelievable returner. We were playing Tulsa that year, and I just dove and hit nothing. And I looked up, and I saw a bunch of other fat offensive linemen from their team, and they're like, it's good, bro. No one else can tackle him either.
No, Mike did teach me, Christine, this is an important thing. Okay. When big boys run, they move their arms super fast, so it looks like they're really hustling.
It's the lineman trot.
I feel like I've noticed that before.
Your legs can move at any speed. Your arms just have to look like you're really humping it. Like
so your arms are going faster than your legs.
Think about it the way everyone should approach a crosswalk. Because I've always said, when I'm driving the car, I get pedestrians have the right of way. I drive the 2-ton death horse. So you need to show me a little bit of hustle in this to let me know you're trying to cross. That's the lineman trot. It's just a little bit of hustle, most of it in your upper body.
This is the stuff you can only get on Rankings Reaction. Let's get you one more play you got to see. And this comes from Tulane and Army. And look, I love a little bit of trickery here, but this moment, I'm all in on trying some Music City Miracle fun, but
nope.
Swiggity swooty. He's coming for that booty. Gets the touchdown. Booty is in treasure, like chest.
Yeah.
Like he got the treasure.
Whatever you want, man. Don't talk sideways to the angry wave. By the way, Tulane, Tulsa, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Thursday night. Me and Matt Barry, check them out.
Watch that.
Look at that.
High-level American action.
Do you blame when you're doing the throwback though? At some point, are you really checking for anything, or you just hope like hell it's going to work?
we have seen this, unfortunately, in special teams all across this great nation. Is sometimes earlier in that game, Army tried to like fake a punt way deep in their own territory for no reason. Like sometimes you get excited if you got a call as a special teams coach or a player that you're just gonna let it rip no matter what, even if the look's there, even if it's not. I don't care. Good luck.
They're just like, it's 2020. Let's just do whatever.
The weirdest
do something.
of all the strange trickery we've had this year, Rutgers, I think it was, that ran like the same sort of Music City Miracle type throwback, but they were getting thumped in the game. I'm like, you hold that play. Like, you don't run that when you're down by 6 touchdowns.
That was the one where the lineman heaved it over his head, though. He's a big, chubby hero.
Oh, good God. I sit next to a big, chubby hero for this show every single Tuesday.
But you guys are friends, which leads us into our next segment. Did you guys know that it was National Unfriend Day?
Oh.
Did you unfriend anybody today?
No.
I didn't. I forgot that was even a thing. That's really hard. Like, clicking unfollow to me is a lot of work.
You forgot that was a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing.
I'd just rather mute people.
That makes sense.
They don't know and they're shouting into the void.
Isn't unfriending like a Facebook thing? I'm never like,
Unfriend.
Instagram, unfollow. It's
Unfollow?
National
Okay.
Get Rid of the People That You Don't Want to Be Around Day.
Taking out the trash.
Okay. That's
All right, so yes, November 17th is National Unfriend Day, and South Carolina didn't even wait until today. They unfriended Will Muschamp on Sunday. The Gamecocks were 2-5 this season under Muschamp and 28-30 since he took over. They still owe him more than $13 million, a little chunk change, but it was just not working out. So who could possibly replace him? Well, maybe not Coastal Carolina's Jamie Chadwell. The sports director of WCIV in Charleston reached out to Chadwell to see if he was interested, but Coach Chadwell says he has bigger problems because his wife needs a new brake light on his van. On her van. I mean, you know.
That's a man with his priorities in the right place.
He's worried about his wife. Actually, brake lights not being. Have you ever been behind a car that doesn't have brake lights?
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's the worst. Sometimes I am tempted because it pisses me off. I'm like, I might as well just run into you because now you owe me money.
Oh, wow. Finesse guy.
That's how it works.
Wow. Huh. Don't tell Jason that because he's going to be rear-ending people left and right now. Their brake lights are
$7,
out.
$9. I will say this, like, as with all the joking on Will Muschamp in that situation, one thing that is crazy to me about the college football landscape in general is these coaches that are fired get these massive buyouts, and nobody's ever held accountable for it. What other job could you have other than athletic director where you could stand up and say, hey, I'm the AD, my bad, that was a $13 million mistake. Don't worry, we'll get it on the next one. Like, what other job can make a $13 million mistake and not get fired? That is crazy to me.
We obviously are just not signing the correct contracts. Our contracts should be completely different. If I leave, you owe me $13 million.
Hey, that's a flex right there. All an athletic director is a GM with academia sprinkled on it. It keeps all the bad away.
All right, we got our guy, Eric Mac Lain is in the building. Former Clemson player, my friend, your friend, Gojo's friend, everybody's friend. He got the Cheez-It in the background and the slight Clemson flex.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Look at this guy.
We see you. He is prepared. What up, EMAC? I wanted to ask you this because you're not far from Columbia, right? You're still in South Carolina. You played, obviously, at Clemson. And there's been some conversations about who could possibly replace Muschamp at South Carolina. Brent Venables has been in the conversation, Tony Elliott. So what do you think about those two possibly replacing Muschamp?
Yeah, I think there's no chance that those guys leave. I think, number one, they're pretty happy where they are, and especially that environment. If you look at Tony Elliott, I mean, he played at Clemson. There's no way that he's going to South Carolina to coach there. And, I think really when you look at candidates, who would you go after? I think my first call has to be Billy Napier over at Louisiana, a guy who is familiar with Clemson, a guy who's familiar with offense. That's got to be on the top of your list. If you're South Carolina. Again, we've heard some rumblings. We're looking at an offensive coach. That is 100% where I would start. And, I'd take a big swing at getting Billy Napier into Columbia.
I guess, EMAC, like, how appealing is this South Carolina job? Like, you're going somewhere where you're going to be a middle-of-the-road conference team and eventually get fired. Like, what's the appeal?
And that's exactly my point. Outside of maybe hanging your hat on the conference or the fact that it is an SEC, a Power 5 school, certainly that comes with bigger budgets, bigger contracts, different abilities, to do things than maybe you might have at a Power 5 school or a G5, school in terms of facilities, getting the right things to to then get the great players. So I'm with you, though. Outside of that, right now, Louisiana's a better situation. You look at Luke Fickell. Cincinnati right now is a better situation than South Carolina.
It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Certainly a high-profile job opening, but we know what it's been compared to and talked about with this whole time. Emac, you've seen from afar what's going on at Michigan right now. Jim Harbaugh seems firmly in the hot seat. Do you think there's any way he's coaching this team in 2021?
It's so interesting, guys, when you look at how he's done against his rival in recent history with Michigan State, Ohio State, how he's doing this year specifically. I think, people are just tired of it. And the expectation was set so high. And what do you have to hang on? A share of the Big Ten East. And that is not what Michigan wants or expects. So, I think it's kind of just time's up. And, you had your tenure, and it might be time to move on.
All right, so you know what I'm good at? I'm good at stirring the pot. I got a guy next to me that's a Notre Dame guy. We're talking to a guy that's a Clemson guy. I may or may not have seen Emac tweet something about congratulations to Notre Dame for beating the JV version of Clemson. So, you guys I'm just stirring and I'll let you have it. Emac, would you like to defend Clemson right now?
Hey, let me ask y'all this. If Notre Dame's missing their starting quarterback, their three best players on defense, do they lose in double overtime? Zero chance. They get blown out of the water. So I hope that we get to see it again. Both teams full strength. I get it. Injuries happen. This crazy world that we're living in, sickness with COVID happens. But, man, it was a fantastic football game. And I just hope that we can see round 2 and maybe, if the game's close, a round 3 potentially.
See, my conference brethren understanding that it's best for the ACC. We get 2 teams in there. I love getting to say this we stuff this year. It's a great time.
That's right.
Totally get it on this one, and definitely not going to dispute Eric's point on that.
Oh, wow. That was
man.
it.
Wow,
I love that.
he said it. You didn't even stir the pot.
What? You want to take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah off my defense? I don't. That kid's great. Kyle Hamilton?
That's
no.
right.
I'm keeping them on the field. And we'll go out there and beat them with Trevor Lawrence in the ACC title game. That's fine, but I don't want to lose any of those guys.
That's right.
This is why, what I should have done was tweeted you both when you'd had a few drinks after the game. That would have been far more entertaining for all of us. All right.
Hey, can I just say that him on Twitter, Gojo on Twitter, was hilarious. It just kept me going. I was dying laughing, bro.
There's one tweet whenever Mike sends, "I am not well," that is just like when you know things have gone off the rails for Mike.
It's a wreck. It's a wreck.
It is. It's gone a little bit off the rails. But I want to get back on, and I want Emac to stick around for this because this isn't him in my territory right now. I've been obsessed this year with the number 0 in college football. I have said from the mountaintops that it should only be worn by players that play defensive line over 320 pounds. And upon this rock, I will build my church. And so on this show, I wanted to reward big boys doing great things in a segment called Mike's Thighsmen. And so I feel like we can get this started with our guy, Darius Hutcherson, rocking the crop top for South Carolina. Emac, that is a big man showing big belly in a way that we can all appreciate, right?
I just wish that I had the courage to have done that when I was a player. That is a beautiful specimen. That's how you should wear the jersey. I honestly, Mike, don't see any other way that you should do it.
I change my shirt 7 times if I feel like I look a little frumpy. He's out there just throwing the belly out.
Does it just not fit him? Like, why is it that way?
Men, what is stopping you from looking like him? Nothing.
That's exactly right.
Let's get to our next big boy. This is Boise State's Nick Crabtree out here getting loose. Watch this. Oh, no, here we go.
Oh.
This is not Boise State in here.
No.
But someone getting loose. It appears to be West Virginia. Look at the pancake at the top of your screen right here. That's West Virginia's Parker Moore right here. That's Parker Moore, number 55. We've got it fonted wrong. It's fine, but just observe the pancakery
Get
going
off me, bro. It almost started a fight. He was ready to. He was like.
Oh, he just picks him up. I mean, that's straight WWE.
I mean, when you get disrespected like that, guys, you have to defend your honor. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. You're required in any room in the trenches to get up and fight after you have the dog walked on you.
Yeah, he almost got all the smoke right there.
Incredible pancakery in that scene. Let's see who we've got next in the Thighsmen category here. All right, now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah.
This is NC State's Ike McQuanu. Look at him. Oh! I command you to go.
That last shot seemed unnecessary. Like,
That is so embarrassing.
No. That is, Emac, that's just a good bit of fitness. You know as well as I do that pass pro doesn't have to be passive.
No, it has to be very aggressive. And what that is at the end there that you said was a little bit too much, that's when you put that little bit of extra syrup on your pancake before you take a big bite.
If you actually listen closely, you can hear him scream yeet as he throws himself headlong at Florida State defender. It is majestic in this one. Are we out of Thighsmen at this point? Do we have any more? Are we good on that?
I think we're out of.
Emac, don't you have some Thighsmen?
You got some Thighsmen.
I have a couple of that I submitted. I don't know if we have them.
Oh, they're here.
But here, watch this. Elaine McNeil is so athletic. He's going to tip the ball in the air, catch it himself, and say, "See you later. I got a reservation for 6."
Oh man.
Look at
the athleticism, guys.
Look at our thick Lord and Savior.
Our thick.
Oh my God. He is
freaky.
Perfect in every way.
How many yards in before his thighs are begging for him to stop?
The only thing that could have made it better is if he had a crop top right now.
100%. Young man, I would like to encourage you to switch to 0 halfway through the season. Talk to your equipment manager. You are the one that I want to celebrate.
Good Lord.
That's right.
But Jason, didn't you ask Gojo before the show if he had ever scored a touchdown?
Yeah, Mike's never scored. Emac, you ever scored a touchdown?
No, and I was even a tight end, in college before I moved. So I had a lot of opportunity. I was wide open, though, in the end zone and was overthrown for a interception. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, boo.
All right, I think Emac has one more for us on the Thighsmen category, right?
Oh, here we go. Niles Pinckney, guys. Check this out at Clemson. At fullback, big defensive tackle, 320 pounds, plows in there. But this is the best part. He keeps his feet. Do a little dance, Niles. Go ahead. I don't know what they call that, but I'm excited that he felt good enough about himself to be able to do something like that in the 404.
I've never seen that in my life. I don't think it's a thing.
Well, you know what it is, Eric, though? That preparation meets opportunity, right? He was so confident he was going to score. He had the dance planned on Tuesday.
Oh, man,
He literally had that choreographed out, Mike, and had a plan in place, and you have to respect that as a fellow lineman.
Emac, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks for the contribution to Thighsmen. As always, my friends, stay safe. Next time, we'll get more trash talking. But we appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
See y'all. Thank you.
It's rankings reaction, and it's time for a little bit of way more important rankings. Mike, what have we ranked here?
We have ranked
my God.
reality television. This is the all-time edition right here. I went back in the vault. And obviously...
All time?
All time.
Okay.
All time right here. Obviously, shout out Missing Bachelor Nation tonight. I hope Tayshia's getting it done, finding love in there. She deserves it.
Yeah, of course.
An incredible addition to what was an otherwise dreadful season.
It was awful.
The Jersey Shore, guys. In my lifetime, this is one of the preeminent reality TV. Gym Tan Laundry was a moniker and a way of life for way too many young Caucasian adults in college wearing Ed Hardy t-shirts.
They're crazy, and they're actually still on air right now, which is actually wild because they're still kind of a little bit the same. They haven't changed
it's a disaster.
that much.
They're preserved in amber. And then we go Chopped, obviously. The Chopped Kitchen is something I know Jason appreciates. Playing for the home team here. Fear Factor, the version of Joe Rogan long forgotten at this point. You crazy, Joe Rogan?
Wow.
Fear Factor is a great one. And then I had a younger sister growing up. I have seen damn near 17 cycles of America's Next Top Model. Tyra Banks taught a nation how to smile with their eyes long before we wore masks. Smize. It is a valuable public service. Okay. And then the last one, American
I don't know what that is. What's American Chopper?
Oh, my God. Orange County Choppers, Paul Jr. and Sr. going out there making custom motorcycles for everyone. Fighting and arguing and preserved one of the greatest meme formats of all time. Allow me to show this little ditty off. You go down here, you get the two of them arguing in their office together.
I've never seen this show in my life. I don't know who these people are.
Oh, my God. They used to go at it. Father and son just building choppers for people. The American dream here. And in this case, arguing about Michigan football or whatever you want them to argue about in this instance. I made a meme. I feel pretty proud.
Oh, you made this?
Oh, I made this one for you guys.
Oh,
Someone always throws a chair.
Wait,
slams the
he's
door really
throwing
hard.
a chair.
But he's 0-5 in the game. All right, that's sealing the deal right there. This is that part of it is great work by you, but that list is an abomination.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was bad.
That list
was a bad list.
awful. I mean, that list is worse than my food takes. First of all, Chopped at 3. I don't know how you could possibly bury it that low. America's Next Top Model being so low is also an abomination. But where was, like, I don't know, Below Deck, the best show right now on Bravo?
Have you ever watched Survivor?
Oh, Survivor's
I've watched
awful.
plenty of Survivor.
Are you joking?
No, they're not doing that.
Survivor was awful?
Awful. Where's Real Housewives, too? Like, there's a whole count, like, Real Housewives of Orange County, not on this list? What are you doing?
I also would like to point out, I felt like you would be more of like a I love shows about love guy. And you only had one, so I was like very disappointed.
Honestly, I was very tempted to put Flavor of Love in there. That was a show.
That would have been a good one.
Oh yeah, Flavor of Love. So was Rock of Ages when we had Bret Michaels going for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just like, that's fun to go back and rewatch. I think we have some Bachelor. I think we've got some Mike here maybe.
Oh,
do it.
dude.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Adult content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Wow.
Viewer discretion is advised.
I mean, this is now we know why he put the oh my God, like
amazing.
So
I mean, this looks so legit. It's actually very legit.
So I was supposed to do The Bachelor Does a Traveling live show that was going to come before the pandemic hit here to Connecticut. It was supposed to be at the casino down here. And they take someone locally and they have them be the Bachelor or Bachelorette. And some people thought it was apparently a good idea to make me do that. So I took those pictures as like advanced promotion for me going to date like 10 women in front of a studio audience that was going to be made up mostly, quite frankly, of ESPN employees and my mom. So.
Oh no, I was ready to bring signs and
I would have been there.
Go full Springer. Like I would have like.
I just hope they're name tags. I don't know how they always remember their names.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm actually really impressed. Well, because they do when they do the rose. Right? No, when they do the rose ceremony, it's actually ridiculous because they literally are talking, especially like night one, they're talking to guys that they've just met. And 30 guys just came out of a limo and you're like, Mike, Jason. And I'm like, how do you know these people's names? I don't remember their name. I don't know their names by until episode 5.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But our colleague Jesse Palmer has one of the all-time Bachelor moments where he actually, at the rose ceremony, forgot the name of the girl he wanted to give the rose to. And so he had the awkward notion of having to go and ask Chris Harrison, the host, for a do-over, essentially. And they allowed both girls to stay. But, like, imagine being the girl that got called the wrong name and still staying.
And then you're like, wait, that's not who I meant to give it to.
Well, I mean, Jesse Palmer, like, every time Jesse walks by on campus, I think we're all just like, Jesse Palmer. I mean, he's a
is.
I still don't understand though, like Fear Factor being number 4 on this. I mean,
you guys didn't like Fear Factor.
It was okay.
It's not. It's like background noise to me.
What about like a show like Impractical Jokers? Does that count as reality TV?
Nah.
I mean, that's they're doing whatever they have to. I mean, it's unscripted television.
It's like not the same though.
Okay.
No.
It's a little different. But do you guys watch 90 Day Fiancé?
I don't. That seems right up my alley. I know.
Listen, we're gonna do this again at the end of the show because he has to go through 90 Day Fiancé. He has to go through a lot of other things before he's able to actually make the rankings, and we'll come back to that later.
Didn't Netflix have the one last year too, where they were all in the one house? They didn't see each other. And
Love is Blind.
No,
they did Love is Blind is Fire, but there was the other one.
I can't think of the name.
Naked and Afraid.
No, they were all in different rooms, but they could take any persona that they wanted on Twitter. Basically,
the social something.
But it was like a social experiment to see how they could become friends and like who was real and who wasn't real. Oh, it was delight.
I thought you guys were going to tell me to watch.
It was called The Circle.
The Circle.
The Circle.
What we should have done is we should have given Gojo like, hey, 10 shows that are like within the last 5 years.
Oh, sorry.
Fear Factor. Next Top Model. I've literally never heard of American Chopper in my life.
I mean, this list is trash. I mean, this list is hot garbage.
I can't believe. I can understand I can understand American Chopper being a little bit of a niche choice here, but I will not deal with the slander of Fear Factor. Back before Joe Rogan did 3-hour podcasts and copious amounts of substances,
Pawn Stars is better than either of those.
Pawn Stars is honorable mention.
I mean,
Pawn Stars.
I guess because I'm not a guy, those sound awful.
That
sounds awful.
You don't want to watch a bunch of overweight family members run a pawn shop?
Sounds awful.
It sounds like a delight. All right, so before we get out of here, we've got a little bit of fun here and a little smart fun here. It's just a reminder that to the committee, it's not rocket science, because if it was, they'd have to include the Illini. Check this out. So we got this little nugget for you. This is Mike Hopkins. He played defensive back for Illinois 30 years ago. That's his picture then. The former captain helped lead them to the 1990 Big Ten co-championship. Mike, were you born yet?
Yeah, 89, baby. And old school football pictures are the best, but wow.
Look at this. Now he's the SpaceX Crew 1 mission commander, scheduled to spend 6 months on the International Space Station in the coolest picture I think we've ever seen, right? Like this is that. And then check out this view of the launch. Speaking of space, this launch was delayed a day, and he tweeted about getting to watch a little bit of college football because of it. But you can see the launch from the UCF Stadium as he goes up into space. So that's pretty.
What I would give to go to space this year.
No.
Get me the hell out of here.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
Wow.
I would never in
Off
my
of
life
this-
go to space.
Like, I'm with you. Most years, 2020, I'm on the next ride.
I know you probably can't get a rose there. By the way, speaking of the Illini, check this punt out. This was one of the best special teams plays. We'll show it again here. But he gets pinned down. Maybe that's not the impressive part. Watch the kick again. He's like, wait, nobody's rushing? Nobody's rushing? Oh, wait. Like he actually takes the time to say, let's get our coverage team all the way down the field, and that's the way it works. Like I thought that was a really good play by him. Look at us.
Smart.
McAfee would be proud. We're giving some love.
For the
always
brand.
giving some love. Again, what was your Cheez-It flavor?
White cheddar grooves.
And you went
Extra cheesy and white cheddar.
Okay, and then I went buffalo wing and white cheddar. I think like I'm gonna mix mine up every week. That's what
yeah.
It's deadly. The mixtures are where it's at.
Yeah.
The one thing I know is that every single Tuesday, come hang out with us. We'll be with you from 8 to 9 p.m. Christine Williamson, Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz. We will react every single week. It's an honor to be back. We really appreciate you guys giving us your time. We are Rankings Reaction, presented by Cheez-It.
We'll actually have rankings next week.
Oh, that's exciting.
Anything's better than what you just ranked.
Amen.
I can't believe you guys are going to sit here and slander Fear Factor like that wasn't great television.
That's
So bad.
awful.
They made them eat like pickled cow stuff.
Why would you do that? That's disgusting.
You're crazy, Joe Rogan.
Getting down low in a 3-point stand. Showing up my moves with a cheesy attack.